Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Books Beside My Bed video. For those of you who are new here, I film one of these every week where I recap what I've read in the last 7 days. For those of you who are very familiar with these videos, welcome back. I have a lot of books to talk about today, so I'm going to be moving through some of these very quickly. This is my reading week from the 8th until the 13th of April. I read 9 books this week. 5 of them were adult books, 4 of them were young adult, 1 was non-fiction, the rest were fiction books. I also DNF'd a book and I'm halfway through another book. So it's been one of those weeks. This is what happens when I'm on school holidays. I read all of the things and it's amazing. I am currently reading Lady Helen and the Dark Day's Deceit by Alison Goodman. This is the 3rd and final book in the Lady Helen series, and this is one of the books for the OWLS Readathon, and I totally forgot to write down which prompt this was for. It's the one with plants on the cover, so that's what I'm reading it for. I'm 250 pages into this. I love the series. I love the characters. I did forget that it's quite dense and very hard to get to, so that's why I didn't manage to finish it yet, but I'll be finishing it today. Okay, let's get into the rest of my reading. So the first book I read this week was Forged in Fire by Trish McCallan. This is a 2012 release from Montlake Romance, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Yes, 3 out of 5 stars. It is a military paranormal sort of romantic suspense story that follows a group of SEALs, one of whom it has visions and sees things before they're going to happen. And one day before he and his teammates are about to board a commercial flight, they're not on duty, he gets a flashback that everyone on the plane is going to be killed, and then at the airport he runs into the female lead, and I've completely forgotten all of their names. This is what happens when I read so much during a week. Anyway, the female lead has had a dream about the same accident, but she has more details, and so they team up and things go from there. It's sort of a fated mates romance as well. I don't know. It was a quick and easy read. I just wanted something completely different to what I'd been reading last week, which was quite heavy and dense fantasy and all sorts of things. So this was quick and easy and, you know, entertaining. I haven't really read romantic suspense books, so that was fun to try something a little bit different. It does fit the Romanceopoly Challenge Military Muse Read a Romantic Suspense book, so I've covered off on that challenge, which reminds me, I am going to do a bit of a wrap up of all of my year-long reading challenges at the end of this month, just so I can go through them, because I'm doing Romanceopoly at the Ampersand Reading Challenge and a whole stack of readathons. So I've got some updated lists and things for all of these, and I will go back over them. Then I read The Gospel of Loki by Joanne M. Harris. This was a 2014 release from Outlast, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. This was one of my book haul revisited books that I had to read for March and April, so I finally got to it. It is, I think, a prequel to the Runemark series or the Runelight series. I forget which one it is. One of my girlfriends had read it, told me that she wanted me to read it so that we could talk about the series because she's about a book and a half ahead of me. It is a retelling of sort of the Loki mythology, which I've read many times before, so a lot of the stories that took place in here were very familiar. But it's always nice to read from Loki's perspective because, you know, he's a very untrustworthy narrator, and yet at the same time also probably the most honest. But it was fun and enjoyable, and I liked reading through all of the stories and just seeing another take on them. And also the voice that Joanne M. Harris gives Loki in this is quite fun. But it is a little bit slow and dry, so just sort of keep that in mind. Then I read Sky by Ondine Sherman. This actually comes out this coming week, I believe. So I'm not going to talk about it in this video because I'm actually part of the blog tour for this, so I'm going to film a separate video talking about Sky. But it is a Lover's Way story that is published in 2019 by Pantera Press. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars and I really enjoyed it. It's very quick, very easy to read, and it focuses on animal rights, and the main character Sky really plays a big part in that after some traumatic life events. I read this for the OWLS Readathon Care of Magical Creatures to read a book with land animals on the cover, so that covers that off. So stay tuned, I will have a review of this coming very soon. Then I read Wildcard by Marie Lu. This is the 2nd and final book in the Warcross duology, which I really enjoyed reading back in 2017. This is a 2018 release from Penguin Random House, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It is a young adult science fiction story set in the future in a world where everyone participates in sort of a form of virtual reality. So people either wear glasses or contacts that allow them to connect to the virtual world, and the virtual world sort of overlays over the real world. In the first book, Emika-chan hacked into the International Warcross Games and as such found herself being recruited to help uncover a plot that sought to sort of ruin the games. And at the end of Warcross, there was a big, huge twist, and this book sort of picks up from there, and there's a bit of a rematch for the Warcross as well as a whole lot of trying to hunt down the truth. I actually did not expect some of the things that happened in here, which was a nice, pleasant surprise. It was fast, it was easy to read. I really enjoyed this world. I like the relationships between the characters as well. They were really fun. So I am glad that I finally finished the duology because I really, really enjoyed it. I read Wildcard for the OWLS Readathon Challenge Divination Read a Book Set in the Future. Then I read Watch Us Rise by Renee Watson and Ellen Hagen. This is a 2019 release from Bloomsbury and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It is a young adult contemporary book and I read it for the OWLS Readathon Challenge Muggle Studies to Read a Contemporary Book. And it is a feminist contemporary story and it was really fun. If you like Moxie, you'll probably really enjoy this. It follows Jasmine and Chelsea, who are two best friends who attend a very prestigious and progressive New York school, and yet within their school they deal with ongoing cases of sexism in their daily life, and so they band together and they try and bring awareness to their school and their community. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I highly recommend that you pick it up. It was just a fun, easy read and very, very important, I think, for girls in today's day and age. Then I read January in Atlantis by Alyssa Day. I think this was a 2018 release by Kindle, possibly. I don't really know, and I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It is a adult romance fantasy-ish book, again, like the other one. It was a quick and easy read, and I don't really remember all that much about it because I was reading it to sort of de-stress my brain. But I do know that it is set in Atlantis, or Atlantis has risen now, and the Atlanteans are now sort of intermingling with the humans, and so it's just a romance. I think it was like 180 pages or something. It was really not very long. The main characters are Flynn and Eva, and Eva works in a bar and Flynn has been recruited as a sort of soldier for Atlantis, and their paths cross. It's another fated mates sort of story. Quick, fluffy, easy to read, bit steamy, so be aware of that if you don't like that sort of thing. Yeah, just something to clear my brain. Then I read Rock Addiction by Nalini Singh. This is one of her contemporary books, and I've previously only really read her paranormal romance books. It is an adult romance book that was published in 2014. My Kindle edition says TKA Distribution as the publisher, but take that with a grain of salt. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I read this for the OWLS Readathon Challenge Defense Against the Dark Arts, read a book that begins with R, and it also ticks off a Romanceopoly challenge downtown, which is to read a rockstar romance. It is a rockstar romance set in New Zealand initially, and then it moves to the States, and it follows Molly Webster, who is a librarian who's been burnt in the past by a scandal that rocked her family when she was in her teens, and also Zachary Fox, who is the lead singer in a very, very famous, very popular band. Molly's sister is actually the public relations officer, I think, for Fox's band, and so their paths cross at a party, and what starts as a one-night stand that moves into sort of a 1 month long romance while Fox's band is stationed in New Zealand, and then the two decide to try for something more permanent, and it's sort of the ups and downs of a relationship in the spotlight, which was fun and easy to read. This one is very, very adult, so if you do not like sex scenes, I would not pick it up, but I like Nalini Singh's writing style. I like the character development that she has in her books, so it was a good read for me. Then I started Circle of Shadows by Evelyn Skye, and I DNF'd this because I couldn't. I honestly couldn't. I was reading this for the OWLS Readathon Challenge to read a book with sprayed edges. I got 97 pages into this and I had to call it quits because the writing style was just not for me. So I can't even really tell you what it's about because I was just sitting there the whole time going, is this over yet? And 97 pages is only about a quarter of the book. So that's unfortunate. So to replace it in the OWLS Readathon, another book that I had with sprayed edges is To Best the Boys by Mary Weber. This came in my Fairy Loot box, so for once I read one of my subscription book boxes within a month of receiving it. It is a miracle. To Best the Boys, it really read historical fiction to me until we started getting the fantasy elements in. It is a 2019 release from Thomas Nelson Books, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. As I said, I read it for the Transfiguration Challenge Read a Book with Sprayed Edges for the OWLS Readathon, and this is a story set in a fantasy world where girls and women don't really have much of an ongoing education. So they can be schooled in their early lives. Their lives are still ruled by that sort of class structure that you get in historical fiction, but they don't go on to higher education. 16-year-old Ren Teller is our main character, and she really wants to become a scientist. Her father is an alchemist slash doctor trying to cure an illness that is sweeping their town, and she has an interest in helping to do that because her mother has fallen ill with the illness. Each year, the boys in the town compete for a scholarship to a very prestigious university, and this year Ren decides to crash that and actually participate. So she disguises herself as a boy along with her best friend. They go into the maze and they participate. The actual maze contest part is only really in the last half of the book, which was interesting, but not a bad choice because it really built up the world, because this is not a long book. I really liked Ren as a character. It gave me real Stalking Jack the Ripper vibes, just in terms of time period, setting, and also Ren's determination to work in the sciences and in medicine. So that was really cool and I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. Good fun. It's nice to read a YA fantasy that is not only a standalone but easy to read and enjoyable. The last thing that I read in its entirety was this non-fiction text, No More Independent Reading Without Support, by Debbie Miller and Barbara Moss. This is apparently part of a series of books called Not This But That, all on sort of educational theory. It was published in 2013 by Heinemann. It was an easy read. It is super short. It is a bit like an essay, and it is all on research done into independent reading and teacher support and different ways and strategies that you can find more time for kids to just read and to read books of their choosing, which is something that is near and dear to my heart. So that's why I read it. So those are the books that I have been reading in the last 7 days. In the comments below, let me know if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them. Or alternatively, let me know what you have been reading in the last 7 days. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I post these videos every Monday, Australian Eastern Standard Time, as well as a whole host of other videos throughout the week. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.